Hey folks, it's me, John, JJB Tin Man Views of NYC. It's a pretty fancy hotel here, just a couple blocks from my house. Anyway, I'm just out. Saturday afternoon, it's 90 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. You know, actually the 90 doesn't feel that bad. It's not that, you know, abusive. Anyway, been inside all day. Already attended 3 webinars. You know, I'm in a business, an internet technology business called On Passive, and spend a lot of time on business-related webinars, especially right now since we are kind of in a launching period, getting the business out there, soon going public. So anyway, so finally I'm getting out. It's late afternoon. I needed to get out. Oh, there's a little breeze going. That's not bad. Take a little walk, do a video, and what I wanted to do was I had promised a couple folks that I was in one of my chats in Facebook underneath something that I'd posted. I think it maybe was a video, I'm not sure. No, it was under a photo I posted of Lauren Bacall. And I had mentioned in there that I just said at the intro, I just said, met her or something like that. So people were commenting. One lady told me how she had met Lauren Bacall, and she got to talk with her for a while and had a little autograph signed in a book that I guess was Lauren Bacall's biography or autobiography or something like that. But anyway, so anyhow, we were going back and forth in there, and I happened to mention I have this story. I met Lauren Bacall, and it was kind of an interesting experience, so I sometimes tell the story. I've told it a couple times on Facebook here and there. I don't think I've ever actually told it, but written it, whatever, in a short version. And I did also in the chat there, I put kind of a short version. Anyway, we're up on 14th Street right now, and there you go, 14th Street. Very busy street, a lot of shopping on 14th Street. Used to be a lot of theaters, burlesque halls, concert halls. Back in the old days, it was about as far north. You know, there was no Broadway, there was no, oh, that was probably starting, but back many years ago, there were a lot of entertainment type venues, and this was one of the main, you know, streets for that kind of thing in New York City at the time, as it was growing. Anyhow, so that's where we are, and we're at Union Square Park now, and there's of course protests going on here, and you know, we're also Gay Pride Month. We got the Gay Pride Parade tomorrow, I think it is, but of course, because of the our wonderful Supreme Court made their decision, Roe versus Wade, bunch of terrible decision. Anyway, so of course there are protests been going on ever since the announcement came out, and here's one in Union Square today. And so we're in Union Square as well, as I want to tell you, as we walk along the park here, I'm going to tell you about my Lauren Bacall story. So here it goes, so we don't have to make this too long a video. I like to try to keep my videos to a point where somebody might actually listen or watch through the whole thing, because I know only about 3 or 4 of you do, but that's okay, because that's who this is for. I promised one of the people, that one of my old classmates, that you know, I would definitely tell this story, and they seem to be anxious to hear it. So that's what I'm doing. Keep my promise, and I know that that my friend Joyce will watch the video and hear the story, and that's all that counts, even if there's only a few people that actually listen to my JJB Tin Man Views of NYC videos. Anyway, so as we walk along, anyhow, this goes back into the 70s. I think, yeah, well, it had to be mid to late 70s, when I was still, one of my survival jobs back in the day was cab driver. And I was good. I was one of the best in the city. I can say that. This was back in a time, I mean, I know that for certain reasons. Anyhow, anyway, this is back in a time when it was like, you know, the Wild West. I mean, not that it can't be a dangerous place to drive a public car. Nowadays, we got, you know, Uber and Lyft and all these others that actually gave a lot of competition. A lot of cab drivers suffered through the pandemic time in particular, but, you know, it's kind of getting a little better for them, I think, but it's been tough for them. But anyway, it's a lot safer for them, that's for sure. And way back when, it was, like I said, it was like the Wild West. A lot of people getting robbed, things happening all the time. A lot of cabs in terrible condition, not kept up well, kept way after the period of time that they were supposed to be taking them off the road. They'd make deals with the taxi limousine commission. I mean, a lot of stuff. That's a whole different thing. But anyway, it has something to do with my story, because I'm working one night and it's raining, you know, pretty hard, on and off, in summertime. And it's a time usually when you've got business constantly. Cab's never empty, because of course people are trying to get into a cab, because there's Abraham Lincoln up there, you might like to know, folks, a statue of Honest Abe. And anyway, so I'm working my cab on the late shift, and whoops, can't see Abe up there, he's under the tree. Oh no, he's not under the tree, it was a shadow. There he is. Let me get up a little closer. There's Abe. Okay, anyway, so I'm driving my cab, and of course I am busy, but I hit this streak where I'm coming down Lexington Avenue, and it has lots of stores, shopping areas, whatever. It's you're certainly going to get some business on a rainy night coming down Lexington Avenue. Anyway, we're getting to the other side, the west side of the park now. I'm on the north end of it. And here we have the farmer's market. This is one of the best farmer's markets. Just to get off the subject again, this farmer's market is incredible. It's here several days a week, and on the weekends here on Saturday. And I mean, you could just see, I'll show you the expanse of, there's just so many vendors, and you know, here it is over here on the end of the west side of the park. And there are all these booths, however you say it. Anyhow, you can see it goes in both directions. Just a big deal. A lot of great stuff. Good, fresh vegetables and every other kind of meats, everything, you know, wine, I mean, you name it, whatever you could buy in a grocery store or wherever. All these farmer market folks, oh boy, hey, yo, farmers market dealers. There's Knoll Crest Farm right there, Knoll Crest Farm. There you go, right there. And a whole lot. Anyway, it's a great thing. So anyway, so I'm coming down Lexington Avenue, and I'm kind of looking, it's wet, it's kind of raining, and I'm looking side to side, left to right, all that kind of stuff. I'll keep walking north, and you'll get to see some buildings and some stuff as I walk and talk. Over there's the Barnes & Noble, in a fabulous old building that they got the whole building at one point. It's hardly able to, I mean, I wonder with the bookstores, you know, I think that's the only Barnes & Noble in the city now. I might be wrong. That's their flagship store over there that I'm looking at right here. And there used to be one down close to me too, or closer, because I'm not far from where I live. But of course that's, whoops, lady almost ran right into me. Oh, nobody's looking. Hey, nobody cares. Hey, old guy with a phone, who cares? Everybody, all right. Anyhow, you know, so anyway, I'm coming down the avenue, it's raining, and I'm looking side to side. Nobody hailing a cab, what's going on here? Suddenly I kind of see out to the left, and ahead of me, about a block or so, as I'm coming down the avenue, I see two people in formal attire. I mean, the guy was in a tux, and lady was in a, I don't know if it was a gown, but it was a very nice outfit, you know. And I recognized immediately, my eyes went, oh, you know who that is? There's a guy singing over there. I mean, there's stuff all over the city. This is just a little spot where there's a little plaza, like, you know, this is just a simple little thing on the street. And you never know what you're going to find. And here's a guy just singing very nicely over there. There you go. I should do that, you know? I don't know why I don't. I need money. I should be out in the street doing just what he's doing. Maybe people would throw some money at me. Anyway, anyhow, hey, so you can see a lot of great stores up here along this. We're on Broadway. We're on Broadway, folks. There's Paragon Sporting Goods over there, and there's a lot of great old buildings a lot of the stores and restaurants around here, a lot of these buildings go back to the, 1800s, early 1900s. And there's where Paragon is over there. It's a big sporting goods store. And look over here on the corner. It's a fabulous old building right there. It's got a lot of different stores in it. Of course, there's plenty of scaffolding. You know me, I haven't bitched about scaffolding for a while, but there's another store right across the street. This is a great old building right here. This building I'm coming up on now. And guess what? Scaffolding, yeah, as you can tell. A lot of scaffolding. Hopefully it won't be there forever. Anyway, so I'm coming down the avenue. And I see these two folks. I mean, that's Lauren Bacall. Can that be Lauren Bacall? That's Lauren Bacall. I mean, I've had other celebrities, plenty of celebrities in my cab back in the days. Lots of stories about that too. This is just one of the more personable ones because I of course, pull over there. And it just happens to be that I'm in a cab that, it's not terrible, but it's pretty beat up. It's not dirty because I myself would clean these cabs before I go to work. I'd get in there and sweep it out and do whatever because I happened to be working for a garage at the time. I worked for a couple of different garages. Look at some of these buildings, folks. Look at the top of this one here. A lot of great buildings up here. Anyway, so I'll get you one on the corner here. It's nice too. The roof has got some trees growing out of the top here. It looks just really nice. This older building right there on the corner there. I don't know how old that one is. Might not be as old as some of the others. That's so funny. Looks really nice. And they got trees coming up on the top there. Outdoor gardens on the roof. And we got this building over here. Anyhow, so lots of good reflections in there. I should try to get something where take a photo. Maybe Joanne could paint one of these with these buildings in the background with all those great reflections in the windows. That would drive her crazy. My friend Joe, who does the watercolors for me. Anyway, so I'm coming down the avenue. I see, Lauren Bacall. And I head right over there. Wasn't any competition. I mean, like I said, all the other cabs coming down were packed full. And I'm in this kind of, not terribly beat up, but older cab. Now, I was one of the best cab drivers at this garage. I was one of their high bookers every day, practically. And I would get the best of the cabs. But this happened to be a garage that, it was, I came and went as a driver. And so when I went back to work as a cab driver at this particular time, I'd left for a while. I think I did some theater. And, as soon as I'm done with the theater, go back to a survival job, whatever. So, but when I went back to my garage, which happened to be on Charles Street, and it happens to be the garage that I worked for first and most of the time, was the garage they used as the model for Taxi. Remember the TV show Taxi? Okay, well, the actual, in the credits, in the beginning of the show, you'd always see that they would show a taxi garage. And that was actually in the West Village on Charles Street. I lived one block from there on Perry Street. And back in those days, I was early, so I drove a cab and worked for that garage. It was great. It was a great garage. I was one of their best drivers, got treated well. Most of their cabs were kept well. Nice place. However, the garage I was working for is their sister garage, which they sent me to when I came back to work because they had no room, at least for a while. So I'm working for this other, which is like one of the worst garages in the city. And most of the cabs are pretty beat up, not in good shape, don't repair them well. I have some stories about that too. However, this night, not that good a cab, but not that bad. So I'm pulling over. I pull over, door opens, gentleman opens the door for Ms. Bacall, and he puts his head in the door and he says, "Hey sir," he said, "I have a lady with me that does not like New York City cabs, never takes them, but we're taking one tonight because of the rain, and we left an affair, and I talked her into coming and getting a cab with me to go home." And I said, "Oops." And I, knowing it's Lauren Bacall, I'm going like, oh boy. And she does have a reputation. She did have a reputation as being a kind of a straightforward, outspoken lady, very independent, very intelligent, all that stuff and whatever. So I'm thinking like, oh boy, she doesn't like New York City cabs, and she's got reason to, because like I just told you, back in those days, they weren't in great shape. It was, anyway, especially what I had that night. So I'm going, oh good, she would have to be coming in. At least it's not the worst. But anyway, they get into the cab, and they actually introduced themselves, or we talked back and forth just about immediately as they get into the cab, because I said, I'd just like to say something. I understand you don't like the New York City cabs. I said, but you got one of the best cab drivers. You'll get one of the best rides you've ever had back home, as best as I can make it for you, even in this kind of beat up cab that I have today. And they laughed, and she said, oh, well, that's okay, but they are terrible. I said, yes, they are, and I'll tell you why. And I gave her the little spiel about how they don't take care of repairing the cabs, and I'm in one of the worst garages now, and blah, blah, blah. Just what I told you before about, you know, in general, they would keep the cabs too long on the street instead of changing them out every couple of years, and blah, 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 and all that I just told you before. So they listened, and she was smiling and said, oh, well, that's interesting to know. I'm so happy that we got you tonight, though, John, as she looked up, hadn't said my name yet, and saw my license on the cab, I mean on the dashboard or whatever. And then we kind of went from there as I drove them to the Dakota Hotel, which is where she lives, and the gentleman that she was with, a bit younger actually, not that she was that old at the time, back in the mid-70s, but he was, you know, a younger guy, and his name was Michael J. Forrestal, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. But so I had these two folks, and we're chatting along and talking, and I, of course, bring up that I didn't say I was an actor or anything like that yet, but I start talking about how much I love old movies, and I'm kind of a film buff, and one of my favorite, not just Miss Bacall, but I'd say, you know, I was a very big fan of your husband, Bogey. And she said, oh my goodness, he was something, and she started to go on about Bogey for a little while. And then we're going back and forth in the conversation. Of course, in that conversation, it kind of came up, are you, what do you do besides driving a cab? Or you seem like a very intelligent, nice person. That, you know, is this what you do? I said, well, it is, because I'm trying to make money and earn a living, but I'm an actor. And then it kind of went on from there, and we went back and forth. And at one point, as we're headed towards the Dakota, and we actually got to the Dakota, of course. At one point, she actually said to me, well, you know, you kind of remind me of Bogey physically. And I went, really? And if I think about it, you know, if I look back at him and certain things, you could see his body type and whatever. He was about 5'11". I'm a little taller than that, although I don't know, I'm getting old. That was then, but nowadays I don't even know if I'm 5'11". I was just under 6 feet. And I believe Bogey was like 5'10", something like that. Not sure exactly, but he was a thinster like me. I mean, he was not a big guy, you know, had really a very similar body type to myself. So I could see what she was saying. And I also thought that was a very nice thing for her to say, that I reminded her of Bogey. Anyway, hey, what do you think? Oh, anyway. So here's another one of those little plazas tucked into the, you know, corner of what used to be totally a street, and they just closed it off. No longer, when you come down this avenue, up the East 23rd Street here, that's actually, I believe it would be 5th Avenue, not Broadway now, because they switched over, I think. But anyway, it's now a nice little plaza where people can get their beer, wine, and coffee over there, in that little place over there, and sit out here on the plaza. Yeah. I like that. New York's done this in the last few years. We got them all over the place, and it's great. Trying to be people-friendly, not car-friendly. Getting more and more like that, too. Anyhow, so there's the Empire State Building up there, folks. I promised I'd be taking you further away from my house and neighborhood once in a while now that weather's better, pandemic's better, whatever. So I am just starting to get out a little bit, and I've still been a hermit right up until recently. So anyway, anyhow, so we were having a really nice conversation going back and forth, and I'm thinking, you know, hey, we're here. They're either both going to get out or she's going to get out. But essentially what she was saying was that, well, that's where she's getting out, but the gentleman was going to go on from there because he lived just a few blocks away at 100 Central Park West, and Ms. Bacall lived in the Dakota at 72nd and Central Park West. Everybody might have heard of the Dakota. That's actually the place where, you know, John Lennon was murdered in front of the Dakota. That's where he lived. And a lot of celebrities still do live in the what used to be the Dakota Hotel. Now it's a huge, old-fashioned condo or, you know, apartment building. Anyway, Still is. Anyhow, so I'm expecting her to get right out of the cab, and here comes the doorman, of course, her doorman, and she doesn't get out of the cab. And she waves him off. You know, kind of, he's coming, she's looking out the way, and she gives him a little hand gesture, like, and he goes back to his little station there. And I'm going, oh, okay. So we sit there, this gentleman, Michael J. Forrestal, the younger man, and Ms. Bacall, Lauren Bacall, and we talk for like 45 minutes, sitting there, chatting back and forth. I mean, I'm like, what the heck? This is so nice. And you know, at least for me, whatever the reputation is, that, I mean, even somebody on my little line when I was talking about her, my little picture under her, I made some comments, and people were saying, oh, I love her, one of my favorites. You know, some people were saying, like, never liked her, or, you know, until now, or they heard my story, so they went, now I like her, or whatever. But I'm saying, I found her to be engaging, friendly, very smart, and it was a great hour or so that I spent with her and her friend Michael J. Forrestal. However, now, we went back and forth, we talked, and it was very nice, like I said. And then when all was said and done, she was ready to get out. Doorman came over, let her out. They said goodbye. He stayed in the cab, and then I took him to his at 100 Central Park West. Very nice building too, by the way. So now we got a lot of street peddlers up here in this area. So anyway, so I took him home. Now on the way home, this gentleman tells me his name. I think I knew it before that, but he introduces himself again now that he's alone with me, and he gives me one of his business cards. He says, you know, I said, I work downtown. He says, you should give me a call. I might be able to help you out or something, whatever. I think he was meaning, rather than drive a cab, maybe I can get you some survival work job and something else, perhaps. I'll look at some of these buildings here. And so anyway, he gives me his card, and we talk a little more while we're out in front of his building. And I do have to confess one thing, though. You know, I never took advantage of that offer of maybe looking for work. I'm not going to get into a long explanation of that, but I didn't do that. And I'm still okay. You know, I've had lots of jobs and situations over the years. But at any rate, so that was a very, very interesting, and I enjoyed myself immensely that evening talking to both of them. And of course, I never saw Lauren Bacall again, and I never saw that gentleman again. And like I said, that's kind of on me. I certainly could have contacted him, and who knows if that would have led to maybe another encounter with Lauren Bacall. Oh, look, I don't know what this is over here, but there's something going on where the people are walking up and down this. Looks like they're using cameras, and is this like a film shoot they're going to have here? And why am I not hired to work on? Oh, you know, I do background and stand-in work, and every time I see something in the city here where they're getting ready to shoot something and I'm not working, I think, I wonder if I put in for that. You know, I don't know what this is, so I don't know if I put in for it or not, but it's possible. I put in for a lot of work. You don't get work every day, of course. Anyway, so I'm in the bike path. Oh, get the heck out of that. Okay, so all right, now we're at actually another park. Discover what a city park can be. That's what they're saying about Madison Square Park. This is a nice little area. There's Madison Square area here. In fact, Madison Square Garden used to be on the other side of this park, as we're coming up to this park now. Madison Square Garden used to be on the other side of this park, just a couple blocks from here. Of course, it's over in the west side at 33rd Street, between 7th and 8th now. But many years ago, the original garden was over here. Yeah, little trivial facts for you. Anyhow, and that building's completely gone, doesn't exist anymore. So anyway, hey, how you doing, folks? It's me, see? I'm not kidding you. Anyway, about Lauren Bacall and Michael J. Forrestal, and, you know, probably was a fool. Probably could have got some nice job in his law office, because I did check him out. And maybe that's why I didn't get in touch. It was intimidating to me, because he was like a Wall Street lawyer for a huge firm with his family's name on it, because Michael J. Forrestal is of the family that the, is it a, I don't know if it's an aircraft carrier or just a, you know, warship or what it was, but the USS Forrestal is named after his great-grandfather or something like that back then. he had told me as we talked in the cab as I took him home. And so that was kind of amazing. And so anyway, but, you know, I found all that kind of intimidating, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? What kind of a job is he going to get me? And I don't want any permanent type jobs, because the thing is, the jobs that I would do, like a cab driver or a waiter or whatever I would do, was always the kind of jobs where you could make decent money, especially back then, and you could do the job, and then if you had something else to do or theater to do, you could split and you could come back. Like I said, I came back to this job, might have been with a different garage or the sister garage, but it's what I did back then. When I wasn't doing a play or some other making work as an actor, I would drive cab. Anyway, so that's all of that stuff, and I hope you enjoyed that, because like I say, I found her to be a very engaging, nice person. She didn't even want to get in the cab. Think about that. And even though I made the ride as comfortable as possible, it was a cab that was not that comfortable. You know, the shocks were shot. You know, but at any rate, you know, it was an interesting adventure, and she was not negative at all about it. We never talked about her dislike or not taking cabs again after I told her, you'll get the best ride you can get from me, and you got one of the best cab drivers, and blah, 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 and all that stuff. So we're on 23rd Street now. Oh boy, I walked all the way up to 23rd Street. Anyway, I hope this isn't too long. And let me get a little shot. I was going to go in the park here, but the entrance was locked. Here's another performer. There you go. And look, nobody's listening to their. See? She still got some money. I looked in that guitar case. She got some money in there. People that throw it in when they walk by, even if they aren't stopping to listen. Anyway, I'm just strolling into the park a little bit before I say goodbye. It's Madison Square Park, 23rd, between 5th and, is that Madison? I guess it is. Madison Avenue, of course it is, and 5th Avenue. Who's this? Roscoe Conkling. And I have no idea who Roscoe Conkling was. Maybe some of you folks are going, oh yeah, I know who that was. I don't. Anyway, here we have one of the original, I don't know if you ever heard of Shake Shack. I think they're around the country, I'm not even sure. But it's like a big deal here, big burger place. And this is,